All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our read of Maleficent. Yay. My favorite villain of all time and pretty decent rendering of her in a movie, just different telling. So, we will get started with announcing our lovely cast right now, starting with Angi.
I'm doing scene description.
I'm Chelsea. I'll be Maleficent.
I'm Logan. I'm Stefan.
I'm Erik. I'm Diaval.
I'm Carina. I'm Thistlewit.
And I'm Travis playing Flittle. You're welcome.
And I'm Jessica playing Aurora.
All righty. Well, let's get to it. Angi, take it away.
Maleficent, written by Linda Wolverton, based on Disney's Sleeping Beauty. Current revisions by Paul Dini and Robert Stromberg. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. Maleficent. Exterior, the Scottish Highlands, day. We are flying above the moors of northern Scotland, following the rugged, rolling terrain at bird height. Angle on wings. Our shining black wings rise and fall lazily as we ride in strong air currents. We drop down a steep stole and level out to skim the blue water of an expansive loch below. We wing our way above farmlands beyond. Exterior, a farm, day. We pass above a farm woman below. She pours milk from a jug onto a large stone.
For the fair folk.
We approach another farmhouse. Exterior, the house of Shepherd, day. Two collies lay outside the house. They leap up as the shepherd comes out with his young son and wife. The shepherd and his boy walk toward the paddock, but they stop, dismayed to see that the paddock gate is wide open. The sheep are scattered across the wide field.
The pixies have been at it again.
He whistles. The dogs race across the field to round the sheep. The boy runs to help. His wife goes back inside and returns with a heavy iron pan. She mutters an old adage as she positions the pan above the door. Iron pot above the door, protect our home from dark ones of the moor. On the shepherd and son, they herd the sheep down the road. Ahead, it crosses a thin line of dark grass which runs through the lighter grass of the field.
Hold up.
He takes off one of his work gloves and tosses it onto the road in the spot where it meets the line of dark grass.
Drop a glove before you, cross the fairy path. They don't like it if we don't show respect.
He whistles to the dogs. They nip at the sheep who trample the glove as they run. The boy picks it up and runs to catch up. Exterior, the moors from above, on the wing. We turn and follow the fairy path which leads to the wilder moors with peat bogs, heath meadows, thin forests, streams, and misty mountains in the distance. Exterior, a blackthorn tree, day. We alight on the branch of a blackthorn tree and travel down to reveal that we are not a winged bird, but a winged girl. Maleficent is lean, all angles, with high cheekbones, a sharp chin, and pointed ears. She looks about 15. She struggles with her large wings like wild, unruly hair before she gets them to fold behind her. On the moorlands, Maleficent's point of view, the natural sounds of the moors drift up to her. The sounds gradually become discernible as voices, talking, laughing, complaining, threatening, whining. The blackthorn tree, on Maleficent. She takes a few black nuts from the tree and crunches them, shell and all. Guttural grunting sounds from below draw her gaze. On the peat bog, her point of view. Mud-covered creatures with round bellies and spindly arms and legs move about the bog. As they grunt and slobber, mud drips from their mouths, which sustains and thickens the bog. The blackthorn tree, on Maleficent. Several wingless, wizened, bald, elvish men burst from the branches, slapping their hands away from their nuts. She makes an ugly face back at them. She grabs more nuts and flies off, following a rocky stream. Exterior, a pond, day. Maleficent lands on the bank and sits on a rock to finish her stolen black nuts. Pretty female water fairies admire their reflection. Their long green hair is made of silky trailing weeds. Nearby, shy, timid moss people with large eyes lurk in the dark wood foliage. As they run their hands over the dry, dead moss, it turns green once again. A long green arm emerges from the water and reaches out towards Maleficent's bare ankle. She looks down just as the green hand grabs her ankle and jerks her off the rock. A malevolent water woman with knotted weeds and pebbles for hair pulls her toward the pond.
Let go.
Maleficent kicks her away and flies off. The green woman slips back into the water. Maleficent flies toward the corpse of tall trees ahead. Exterior, rowan tree, day. She lights in the branches of the tree to eat her black nuts in peace. Loud giggling laughter draws her attention. Exterior, a meadow, day. 3 flower pixies play hide and seek in the meadow. Knotgrass, Thistlewit, Flittle are small, lithe, flighty girls with pointy ears, noses, and tiny transparent wings. Flittle wears all blue. She's plagued with ever-present butterflies that fly around her head. Thistlewit is a tiny round head with tufts of wispy hair that splay outward from her face like a dandelion. Knotgrass wears green and brown. Her short dark hair sticks upright or falls down her eyes. Color flows from the pixie's fingertips, making the petals brighter, the grass greener, or the sagging flowers revive. They hear bells in the sky and rise into the air. Exterior, the rowan tree, day. The pixies fly past Maleficent in the tree.
The king and queen are coming.
They flit away. Maleficent rolls her eyes.
Gnats.
Exterior, the sky, the fairy procession. The sky is crowded with winged fairies. The beautiful Queen Ula and her husband, King Kinloch,
Yep.
lead the procession, which is lit by wavering lights of will-o'-the-wisp. On the moors, from above, below, wingless fairies emerge, small elvish men with feet of crows and tiny eyes, creatures with the bodies of small horses and the heads of humans, webbed-footed sprites with the huge sharp teeth and pointed ears, wild elvish women lurking at the base of the trees. Exterior, the fairy light, evening. Maleficent flies up to join the procession. She soars up to the higher altitude above the royals. Queen Ula glares up at her. The pixies fly up beneath Maleficent. Come down!
You're not allowed to fly above the queen.
This only makes Maleficent fly higher. On Maleficent, she soars up high, bursting through the clouds, and she folds her wings and plummets straight down again through the crowded procession. Fairies flutter out of her way. She falls almost to the ground before her wings open and she soars up again. King Kinloch and Queen Ula are not pleased. We have
to do something about her.
Exterior, the fairy mound, evening. The procession approaches a large grassy hillock. The king and queen land on the mound, followed by the others. The fairies are all the size of small humans with delicate pointed ears and tiny refined features. Ula steps onto a low flat stone which leads to her throne like a stepping stone. As she steps up on it, the stone emits a contented purr. The king sits on his throne next to hers. A back wind stirs the air briskly as Maleficent lands on the mound above the fairies. She stands head and shoulders above them. Her wings loom above her head. She seems like a large, untamed bat among the finches.
Fold your wing.
The fairies fold their tiny wings. Maleficent has trouble getting hers to obey. The 3 pixies smirk and giggle.
Maleficent,
Yes, Your Majesty.
step forward.
Maleficent tries to take a step, but one wing is caught under the foot of another fairy. She tugs it out and steps forward. She hunches uncomfortably as all the eyes turn on her.
No one flies above me.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Knotgrass whispers to the other pixies. It's those wings. She can't control them. One of Maleficent's wings lashes out and knocks Flittle down.
Maleficent.
She grabs it and pulls it in closely.
Control your wings or you will be punished. Step back, Maleficent.
Maleficent steps back. The others give her a wide berth.
The king and I have just returned from a visit with the human king, Henry. Like all humans, he's easily impressed.
All we had to do was show him a little magic, and he showed us with gifts.
Serving fairies fly with the trays of human-made cakes, milk, wine, etc. The fairies partake eagerly.
It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Ula frowns to see the wingless boy about Maleficent's age in the crowd.
What is he doing here?
Kinloch is embarrassed to see him. Stefan is the illegitimate son of King Kinloch and a human woman.
I'm sorry, my love. Leave the queen's circle, boy.
The boy doesn't move.
No, sir.
Leave the circle.
I have a right to be here.
You have no rights at all, halfling. You have no magic. You have no wings.
But he's the king's son.
Ula gasps, the fairies go silent. Kinloch chokes out words.
I have no sons.
You don't have to pretend. It's no secret. Everyone knows that.
Maleficent!
Ula's mortified at the public humiliation. She fixes Maleficent in a smoldering, furious glare. The three pixies draw away to be out of the line of fire.
Ever since that tragic night that you were born, I have tried to find the good in you. I have tried for my sister's sake.
She breaks down briefly. The king touches her hand.
But I have failed because there is no good in you. You're a devilish thing. You were born that way.
He abruptly waves her hand at Maleficent. She's struck by a violent magic which knocks her to her knees.
You will wear these for 100 years so all can see your true nature.
The magic dissipates to reveal a pair of large black horns embedded at the top of Maleficent's head. The fairies drop back in shock. Maleficent slowly reaches up to feel them. Horror crosses her face.
No!
She tries to pull them off. The fairy's shock gives way to smiles and smirks. Maleficent pulls and strains, but the horns are firmly embedded. The pixies laugh. Flittle laughs so hard she sucks in one of her ever-present butterflies and chokes. Maleficent locks eyes with Stefan briefly. He looks horrified and guilty. Cut to exterior the moors later. Maleficent walks through the shaded grove. Her head is bowed with the weight of the horns. She approaches a pond with water fairies. Frightened by the sight of her, they all dive quickly into the water. She continues on. Two small, human-headed horses run off when they see her coming. She shrugs it off and continues on. Stefan appears out of the shadows.
Maleficent?
He abruptly turns and goes the other way. He runs around to stand in front of her.
Go away.
I want to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to you.
One of her wings lashes out and knocks him to the ground. He looks up at her.
I just wanted to thank you for standing up for me.
A lot of good it did me.
She sits down on a rock. He gets up and sits next to her.
Sorry about them.
He indicates the horns.
Queen Ula's a tyrant.
I know.
They sit in silence for a moment.
Like your wings.
You do?
Wish I had some.
I don't blame you.
She holds a wing out for him to touch. He hesitates.
They don't bite.
He strokes the soft feathers. Exterior, a meadow day. The pixies gambol in the meadow. Bees and hummingbirds flit from flower to flower. Thistlewit spins around. Wisps of her hair fly off like dandelion seeds. Knotgrass runs through the meadow, trailing her hand in the low grass. The grass grows tall in her wake. Flittle and Thistlewit study a blue flower.
What color will you make the bluebells this year?
Flittle just looks at her. Another part of the meadow. Maleficent walks with Stefan. Her wings drag to the ground. They flap with irritation, which causes her to fly up. Stefan grabs her.
You're drifting.
He pulls her to the ground.
They're not happy when we walk.
The pixies see them approaching.
Maleficent, those horns are perfect on you.
Knotgrass steps on Maleficent's trailing wing. She stumbles forward.
Leave her alone.
Go live with humans, halfling.
Maleficent whirls around angrily. Her wings arc above her head.
I'm a halfling too. Call me a halfling. Go ahead.
They shrink back from her. She grabs Stefan.
Never mind them.
They keep walking. You killed your mother. Maleficent stops, stricken by the words. She looks up. The pixies hover overhead. They drop rocks and mud down on them. Maleficent uses her wings to protect Stefan.
Stay here.
She opens her wings. The pixies scream and fly away. Maleficent goes after them. Exterior, the sky, day. Maleficent chases the pixies like a hawk after sparrows. They scream. Exterior, a pond, day. Queen Ula and the king sit on the bank. Water fairies perform aquatic acrobats for them. They eat cake and drink milk from flower teacups. The three pixies fly toward them, screaming, with Maleficent right behind them. The pixies hide behind the king and queen, but Maleficent keeps coming in a fury.
Stop right there.
Ula throws magic at her. Maleficent's wings buckle and she falls. She hits the ground hard.
You see how devilish you are? I blame your father.
She deserves to wear those horns.
Yes, she does. Admit you deserve them.
Why should I?
I'll clip your wings if you don't.
You wouldn't.
Oh, but I would.
Maleficent drops her head. She forces the words out bitterly.
I deserve to wear the horns.
For 100 years.
For 100 years.
Now get out of my sight.
Maleficent opened her wings to fly.
Walk.
She folds them and walks away, head bowed, wings trailing on the ground. Exterior is the blackthorn tree. Later, Maleficent and Stefan sit high in a branch together.
I didn't kill my mother. She died the night I was born.
I know. Everyone does. Who's your father?
The red cap?
Him? No wonder you're so...
She gives him a sharp look.
What? Dark, wild, strange, dangerous?
tall.
But she knows perfectly well that's not what he meant. She sees something off, dismayed.
Oh no, the rowan.
On a rowan tree, her point of view. The trunk of the tree has been split by lightning.
She won't live. Hold on to me.
She puts her arm around his waist and leaps from the tree. Stefan's thrilled as they fly to the ground. Exterior is rowan tree, day. Maleficent stands in front of the wounded tree. She closes her eyes. Sweat drips down her forehead as magic flows from her to the tree. Stefan watches, fascinated and envious. Gradually, they split the split trunk mends itself, but the process took something essential from Maleficent. She collapses against the tree trunk. Exterior the moors, years later, close on the horns. One large horn, ringed and scarred, is rubbed vigorously against a tree trunk. It falls off. We hear a gasp of surprise. The other horn is rubbed just as vigorously. It falls off. On Maleficent, she's grown into a dark, mysterious beauty. She rubs the places on her head where the horns had been. Stefan approaches. He's become a handsome young man.
There you are. I have news.
Queen Ula is dead.
How'd you know?
Her spell is broken.
She picks them up and throws them as far as she can. Exterior the loch, dusk. The fair people stand silently on the banks of the loch, watching 4 black swans carry the funeral bier across the water into the setting sun. The pixies stand on the bank with the others. Flittle and Thistlewit whisper.
Who will be the queen now?
No one knows. She had no heirs.
The stone knows.
What stone?
Queen stone. Anyone who wishes to be queen steps on the stone. If she is false, it growls. If she is the one true queen, it will roar like a lion. Understand? Thistlewit studies her face.
You have green in your eyebrows. I've never noticed that.
Knotgrass looks skyward. Why do I waste my breath? Close on the stone. A fairy foot lands on the queen's stone, growls. Exterior the fairy mound, day. A female fairy steps off quickly. Another female steps up. The stone growls again. Kinloch shakes his head. Exterior upon, day. Maleficent leans down to look at her reflection. She pulls her hair back where the horns used to be. She turns, admiring herself without them.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
You're admiring yourself.
She sees that he's carrying a satchel.
Where are you going?
Into the human castle.
Why?
Heard so much about it, I want to see it for myself.
Sudden feeling of dread overcomes her.
Don't go there, Stefan.
You're not curious about humans.
No, not at all.
I am.
You would be.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're half human. There's no shame in it.
I'm going then.
She picks
good
dead
time.
leaves from her tree branch as she doesn't care.
Have a good time.
He doesn't go.
It's a long way if I have to walk. On foot.
How else are you going to walk? On your ears?
Maleficent, will you take me to the human castle?
No.
Please?
She sighs. She can't say no to him. Exterior, the sky on the wing. Maleficent and Stefan fly entwined, arms tightly wrapped around each other's waists. Stefan's face is filled with joy from the flight, Maleficent's with the joy of being close to him. Exterior, the clouds, day. They fly through a thick layer of cloud cover. A stone wall suddenly looms in front of them. Maleficent veers up, but their feet hit the edge as they fall into the hard, unfamiliar surface. Pull back to reveal. Exterior, King Henry's castle, turret. They've fallen onto the high battlements of King Henry's castle. Maleficent looks around uneasily. Stefan runs his hand over the stones.
Look at the way that stones fit together perfectly. It's ingenious.
It's unnatural.
She touches the wall and shudders.
Stone is dead.
Interior, the tower steps, day. She follows Stefan down the steps, grabbing the iron railing as she goes. She gasps and pulls her hand away.
Don't touch the rail. It's iron.
Stefan tentatively touches it.
Hardly feel anything, just a little sting.
She looks at her palm. The flesh has been burned. He runs down the steps, touching the railing briefly as he goes. Maleficent tucks her hands into her robes. Her wings draw themselves up to avoid the iron railing as well. Interior, the great hall, day. They enter. The hall is crowded with humans and fairies. There's food, drink, music, and merrymaking. Fairies perform aerial acrobatics. Others make rainbows and bring flowers for bloom to the children. The humans gasp and exclaim with delight. Maleficent is appalled by what she sees.
What is this?
Stefan wanders off intrigued. Maleficent looks up at the high arched ceilings, feeling trapped. Ominous iron filigree hangs all around. She moves through the hall, becoming more dismayed. The pixies have all grown up as well, but they're still immature and idiotic. Flittle speaks to a group of humans.
I'm in charge of Blue. It's a big responsibility.
Can you turn my dress blue?
Flittle squeezes her eyes shut and touches her yellow dress. It turns blue.
I like it better yellow. Turn it back, please.
I don't make yellow, I only make blue.
Turn it back.
Flustered, Flittle closes her eyes and reaches for the dress, but accidentally touches the woman's hand. It promptly turns blue. The woman gasps.
Oh dear, that's not what I'm terribly sorry. Let me fix.
She squeezes her eyes shut again and reaches out, brushing the woman's face. It turns blue. The woman screams. Panicked, Flittle rushes away. Maleficent feels someone tugging at her wings. It's a human boy. She jerks them away. The boy keeps touching her wings.
Don't touch the wings.
You're mean. What magic can you do?
This.
She waggles her fingers and walks away. The boy gasps. His fingers have grown together so he can't pull them apart. She walks up to Stefan, who's chatting with Princess Leia.
We're leaving now.
What's wrong?
What's wrong? Look around. This is an embarrassment.
Don't be silly. It's all in fun.
Maleficent looks at her sharply.
Who are you?
I'm Princess Lei.
I've been accused of being a lot of things, but silly is not one of them. Isn't that right, Stefan?
Maybe we should talk over here.
He tries to pull her away.
This may come as a surprise to you, Princess, but we don't exist to serve the human rabble.
Maleficent,
He pulls her away.
these people are our friends.
Friends? They're using us. I'm leaving. Are you coming?
She sees the somber look on his face.
Stefan?
I'm nothing there. My father disowned me.
Her heart sinks as she realizes.
You're not coming back.
I could have a future here.
You never intended to.
Maleficent,
She turns her back on him abruptly and walks away. Interior hallway evening. She hurries down the hall, struggling against the tears. In her distress, she can't find her way out. She hears voices.
It's a shame we lost the little queen. She was so easy to manipulate.
The words cut through her distress. She turns back to listen.
What did she die of?
Old age. It's hard to believe she was over 300 years old.
What about the king?
He won't give us any trouble.
She looks through the crack of the door. Interior of room, night. The king is talking with his advisors.
Now that we have their trust, we can ask for anything we want.
They'll make us rich.
Even better, we can use them against our enemies.
They're too unpredictable for that. There's no way to control them.
They have a weakness.
What's that?
Iron.
At the door, Maleficent reacts with alarm.
I discovered it by accident, then curiosity got the best of me, and I tried it out on a few of them.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Some were burned, some died. I was impressed with their stamina. They'll make good soldiers for us.
The door slams open. Maleficent storms in with murder in her eye. Her wings knock the advisors down. She slams Henry against the wall, looming over him like a dark, avenging angel. He cowers fearfully.
If you touch another one of us, I'll kill you.
She releases him and storms out. The king falls to the floor, trembling and humiliated. Interior the great hall, night. Maleficent returns to the hall. She looks for Stefan. He's still talking with Princess Lei.
Stefan,
thought you'd gone.
we have to get our people out of here.
What are you talking about?
The king is planning to use iron against us.
He looks at her skeptically.
Why are you doing this?
Did you hear what I said?
Why must you turn everyone you meet into an enemy?
She backs away, shocked by his attitude. She sees guards coming in. She hurries to the hall, speaking quietly to the fairies.
Get out! Go back to the moors. You're not safe here.
Some hurry away, some stay. Everyone's confused. Henry's wife, Queen Mary, stands with the pixies.
Who is that?
It's just Maleficent, never mind her.
She was born to cause trouble.
The king runs into the hall. He points at Maleficent.
That one.
The guards run toward her. She looks at Stefan. Their eyes meet briefly. Then she opens her wings and flies out the window. Exterior the skies, night, on the wing. She flies, wings beating furiously. Tears stream down her face. Exterior the fairy mound, night. Kinloch yawns as more female fairies line up to try their luck with the stone, growls every time. Maleficent lands on the mound.
Pinlock! Call our people back from the humans' castle.
Why would I do that?
Their king is plotting against us.
That's absurd. Henry's our friend.
Is he? He knows what iron can do. He's already used it against us.
I don't believe you.
I heard him myself.
But you're a known liar.
I have no reason to lie.
Enough, Maleficent. You've caught us. You've caused nothing but pain and heartbreak since the day you were born.
He waves his hand in a circle. The storm cloud appears above her head. Thunder cracks, and she's pelted with hard, cold rain. She backs away with the rain pouring down on her. Exterior the sky, on the wing. She flies furiously out on the moors over the human farmlands. But she can't get away from the storm cloud. She flies until she's exhausted. Exterior a large tree, day. Maleficent lands on a long branch where she sits, gasping and furious. The private rainstorm still pelts her. On a crop field, her point of view. A large raven sits on the head of a scarecrow. 2 farmers throw rocks at him.
Get off!
The raven leisurely preens its feathers on the rocks and flies around it. Finally, a rock hits its target. The raven squawks and flies into the tree. The large tree. The raven lands next to Maleficent. She glares at it. It glares back at her. They stew in silence. After a moment, it hops over onto the branch so it won't get wet. Cut 2. Exterior the moors, a ruined castle, dusk. Crumbling walls are all that's left of the ancient castle. Swathed in thick moor mist, Maleficent stands before the ruins. The rain cloud is gone.
I need your help.
She hears guttural breathing and the scratching of claws. Something large approaches. The mist stirs. Maleficent waits. In a moment, a man walks out of the mist. He holds a heavy staff. He's even taller than Maleficent, fiercely handsome with dark, malevolent eyes. He wears a worn red cap, the color of blood. Maleficent looks very much like him.
You've grown yourself.
You know why I've come.
I'm always watching. You'll have to kill Kinloch.
I can't do that.
Where does this conscience of yours come from? It doesn't serve you. Your mother was burdened by it too.
His dark eyes soften briefly to think of her.
If you want to save your friends, although I don't know why you would after all they've done to you.
I'm the only one who knows what this human Henry is planning. I can't stand by and let him use us like servants and slaves.
An act! Do what must be done, but you will be hated for it.
That's nothing new.
Then unleash yourself. Make me proud.
He steps back. The mist swallows him up. Exterior a peat bog night. Maleficent stands at the edge of the muddy bog. She closes her eyes. Sweat drips down her forehead as magic flows from her to the bog. It begins to bubble and boil. Something large moves around in the mud. One by one, 5 creatures crawl from the bog. Her guards are large, dour, and ugly with leathern wings, long arms that drag to the ground, and feet turned backwards. As the last one crawls out, Maleficent sags from exhaustion. Cut to exterior the moors, night, on the wing. Maleficent flies low to the ground, followed by her guards. She searches for something on the ground. She sees what she's looking for, scoops them up, and flies on. Exterior the ferryman, night. The fairies are still lined up to stand on the stone. Others entertain themselves with human objects, combs, brushes, mirrors, etc. Maleficent lands on the mound.
I want my turn on the stone.
She walks toward it with determination. The fairies scramble to get out of the way.
Stop right there. Stop.
She steps onto the queen's stone. It screams and protests so loud the fairies cringe and hold their ears.
Step off. Step off.
But Maleficent holds her ground. Her guards land on the mound. The stone still screams. She motions to Kinloch. They pull him off the throne and drag him away. Maleficent steps off the queen's throne. It stops screaming abruptly. Maleficent plants herself firmly on the throne. Her guards take their places beside her. She takes out the horns and she retrieved from the ground. She replaces them on her head and sits back confidently. Queen Maleficent.
No one leaves the moors for the human world. Not now, not ever.
Exterior the human farmland the next day. The 3 pixies fly toward the moors, carrying gifts from the human. As they approach the fairy path, it lights on fire. Flames shoot skyward in front of the pixies. They draw back. After a moment, the flames dissipate.
What was that?
Sudden, inexplicable flames from nowhere? They fly forward and smack into an invisible wall. They fall into the grass, dropping their loot. Thistlewit gets up and tries to fly forward again. She hits the invisible barrier and falls again. She tries it again and falls. It's a binding spell.
We cannot pass.
Thistlewit keeps flying at the barrier like an angry bee. They drag her away. Interior of the Great Hall, day. King Henry and Queen Mary look out over the banquet hall.
Where are all my fair folk?
They've gone save for those 3.
The pixies sit at the table eating milk and cake.
You 3, approach.
The pixies come forward. He waits for them to bow. Queen Mary whispers hopefully.
Bow to your king.
They look at each other. Should we? Knotgrass shrugs. They bow. Flittle feels someone staring at her. She looks up to see a woman with a blue face glaring at her. Flittle steps behind Thistlewit to hide.
Can you spin straw into gold?
No?
Can you conjure up a storm? No. What can you do? We're flower pixies.
We brighten your day with cheery blossoms and blooms.
They flit around, bringing all the wilted flowers and bouquets back to life. The king and queen consult.
We need better ones.
Where are all your friends?
Someone put a binding spell along the path none of us can pass through.
Who would do such a thing?
It must be that tall, bad-tempered one with the evil name Maleficent.
Do you know her?
They shake their heads vigorously.
She's no friend of ours.
Knotgrass spots Stefan strolling with the princess. She points. But he knows her very well.
You there, young man.
Stefan looks over and indicates. Me?
Approach.
Stefan looks at the princess. He smiles. She smiles encouragingly. Stefan approaches King Henry. He bows.
What is your name, son?
Stefan?
I haven't seen you before. Where are you from?
Moors.
No one lives there but the fair folk.
They look Stefan over. No pointed ears, no wings.
You're not a eunuch,
Also,
are you?
I'm as human as you are.
Thistlewit makes a choking sound. Stefan glares at her.
You must be a changeling then.
Changeling?
He was taken from his cradle as an infant and raised by the fair folk.
Stefan doesn't deny it.
Then you can be of use. Do you know of the evil fairy named Maleficent?
Yeah.
You do know her?
Do.
Well,
Yes.
Henry throws his arm over Stefan's shoulder.
you're a good-looking fellow. I can see my daughter has taken quite a liking to you.
Stefan's eyes fill with possibility. King Henry steers him away. The pixies all watch this curious.
I didn't know Stefan was a changeling. I thought he was a halfling.
He is a halfling, but Queen Mary thinks he's a changeling.
Maybe
He's not half a changeling, he's a whole half. Thistlewit blinks.
I'm confused.
Of course you are. They move off. Flittle almost runs into the blue lady who glares angrily. She hurries off with the others. Exterior the moors, a rocky stream, night. Maleficent walks near the stream, followed by her guards. The sounds of the babbling stream becomes babbling voices.
The stone screamed. She has no right to the throne. She was wrong to make herself queen.
She hears them, keeps walking. Her guards growl and run toward the stream fairies.
Leave them alone.
The guards turn back reluctantly. They keep following her, breathing down her neck.
And stop following me.
They stop. She continues on alone. Exterior a dark pond, night. Maleficent sits on a rock eating black nuts, feeling more alone than ever. A long green arm emerges from the pond and reaches for her ankle.
Touch me, and you will draw back a shriveled stump.
The green woman's arm retreats back to the pond. Exterior the fairy path day. The once green fairy path is now a long black line of demarcation between the wild moors and King Henry's human domain. Exterior the road day. Stefan sits in a wagon next to the driver. King Henry's castle is visible in the distance behind him. Exterior near the farm day. The shepherd, his wife, and son stand at the place where the fairy path crossed the road. The sheep stand in a huddle, oddly silent. The farmer whistles for the collies who lay in the farmhouse yard.
Did you hear me, boys? Come up.
The dogs whine, don't budge. Stefan and the driver approach from the wagon. The horse whinnies and rears.
Whoa!
Horses won't cross it.
The shepherd points to the burned and blackened path. Stefan looks up. The birds fly straight up and down there like fish in a tank.
Fair folks have put a curse on this.
I can't think why. I put out milk and cake for them every day.
Walk from here.
Stefan gets off with a knapsack. The driver turns the wagon around. Stefan steps up to the fairy path and studies it.
Can you cross it?
He and his family step back, fearfully.
We don't dare.
At night, we see a horned bird with a head of a woman flying in the sky.
She has a host of goblins behind her. Stefan tries to step across. It takes an effort for him to push through the invisible barrier. Then something gives way and he stumbles onto the other side. Exterior the fairy side of the path. Stefan looks around, astounded by the sudden difference in the colors and lushness of the countryside surrounding him. The shepherd and his family wave to him from the other side.
Good luck to you.
Watch out for the evil bird woman.
He starts off following the black line of the fairy path into the wild moors beyond. Exterior the fairy mound, evening. Maleficent sits in the throne, surrounded by her ugly, slavering guards. They scratch and snarl like many dogs. Maleficent has her chin in her hand, feeling very alone. She hears something and sits up quite abruptly.
Quiet!
She listens. A voice on the wind is calling her name.
Maleficent!
Exterior the moors, evening. Stefan stands on a high hill above the moorlands which sweep away from him.
Maleficent!
He squints as he sees something in the distant sky. What appears to be a horned bird with very large wings soars toward him. He watches as Maleficent flies closer. His face is a mixture of joy and regret. Exterior the hill, dusk. Maleficent stands on the hill, their faces filled with emotion to see each other again.
I knew you didn't belong in the human world.
Oh, I belong there. More than I do here.
Then why did you come back?
I missed you too much.
Her heart leaps.
You missed me.
I love you, Maleficent. I always have.
He takes her chin in his hand and kisses her. Her eyes close and she falls back in a swoon. Off the hilltop, he looks over. Exterior the fairy mound. Her guards look up to see their leader doing giddy air loops in the distance. They frown and grunt with disapproval. Exterior a riverbank, night. Maleficent and Stefan sit under the shelter of her wings, talking softly.
I have to admit, there are some things that humans do better than we do.
I can't imagine what.
Food, for one thing.
He opens his backpack and takes out food.
Bread, cheese, honey cider.
He pours a bit of cider into his cup. He offers her some. She pushes it away.
Nothing human for me.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing.
I'm perfectly happy with what we have.
She tips a large red blood rose that blooms on a twisting vine. Red dewdrops into her mouth.
I wonder what it would taste like if we mixed the two together.
He tips the blood rose into his cup.
Best of both worlds.
He swirls it around and takes a sip.
Not bad.
He takes another teeny sip. Maleficent considers. Giving in, she holds out her hand for the cup, but he holds it back.
Nothing human for you.
They puzzle over the cup. She grabs it out of his hand and takes a big gulp. He waits for the verdict. She takes another drink. Considers.
It's dreadful.
He laughs. She smiles at him. Love shines through her whole being.
Promise me you will never leave again.
Never.
They lay back against the tree together.
I want this moment to last forever.
We have forever.
She closes her eyes, drifting off, but she opens them, suddenly panicked.
Stefan,
Yes?
I was afraid you'd gone.
Still here.
She sighs with contentment and closes her eyes again. Exterior the riverbank later. Maleficent has fallen into a deep, unnatural slumber. Stefan sits beside her.
Maleficent.
He shakes her shoulder roughly.
Maleficent!
She doesn't stir. He takes long, thin iron chain from his pack. He holds it over her. His hands tremble. His face is racked with emotion. He shakes his head and drops his hands. After a moment, he lifts the chain again. Cut 2. Exterior the riverbank, dawn. Maleficent groans from pain. She sits up and shakes her head to clear her thick sleep. The pain on her back is intense. She looks around for Stefan and reaches over her shoulder. Her fingers touch the long cauterized burn where her wings used to be. On the shock and horror in her eyes, we cut to exterior human farmlands. Stefan runs down the road carrying a large bundle on his back. The driver sits in the wagon nearby. He jumps off to help him load the bundle. Her anguished, outraged wail echoes down the hills and across the moorlands. Stefan looks up. At the sound, the burlap bundle shifts and struggles.
I shouldn't have done it.
It's too late now.
They lash the bundle down and quickly drag away. Exterior the riverbank, day. Maleficent thrashes around trying to reach the painful wounds. She plunges into the river. The water fairies retreat, watching with huge, fearful eyes. Maleficent climbs out and runs, delirious from the agonizing pain. Exterior the moor's day. She runs to escape the pain. At the top of the high hill, she leaps into the air, forgetting, in her delirium, she no longer has wings. She falls crashing down the hill to the bottom where she lies gasping and bloodied. As she lays there, she looks up at the birds flying overhead. Her pain and heartbreak are unspeakable. Exterior King Henry's castle, day. The drawbridge opens for Stefan's wagon. Interior King Henry's castle, day. Stefan stands with King Henry. The bundle lays at his feet, no longer moving.
I couldn't kill her. So I took these instead.
He draws back the burlap. The large black wings are tied with heavy ropes. Fascinated, King Henry looks down for a closer look. The wings struggle, startling him. He leaps back.
Her wings have always had a mind of their own.
Will she want revenge for this?
Absolutely. But she's hobbled now. The fair people won't allow a wingless leader.
Brilliant, son. You've served me well.
And the other thing?
Henry sighs. He has no choice.
I'll tell the queen to prepare for a wedding.
Stefan nods. Whatever guilt he felt has been swept away by ambition. Exterior the moor's night. Maleficent still lies in the place she fell. Something has left her forever. Hope, belief, capacity for love.
Get up, Maleficent.
She opens her eyes. Her father stands over her, holding his staff.
Pain is a gift. You can use it to grow stronger than you ever were.
She closes her eyes again.
Or you can lay here and die.
He drops his staff at her side and walks away. A long moment passes before her fingers feel for the staff. She uses it to pull herself to her feet. A wolf howls. Leaning on the staff, she sees a large silver wolf on a distant hill. It turns and disappears into the mist. Exterior, the fairy path near the farm. Using the staff as a crutch, Maleficent limps across the blackened fairy path. Her eyes are filled with hatred. She limps past the farmer's house and paddock. As she passes, the gate opens. The sheep runs out. She walks through the middle of the human crop fields. The crops wither on the vine in her wake. Exterior, the farmlands, various time passage. The weather changes, clouds move across the sky. Maleficent still walks. She's stronger now. She stands more upright, leaning less on the staff. Dry stone walls collapse where her staff hits the ground. She walks with a stronger stride. The staff is no longer a crutch. She plants it to the ground near a barn and a farmhouse. The ground shakes violently. Structures collapse. Farmers, families, and animals run out. She stands near a town. She lifts the staff. Storm clouds suddenly move in. A high wind blows. Lightning hits the church steeple. Exterior, a hill, evening. Maleficent stands on a hill overlooking her path of destruction. Nothing built of human hands remains standing. She seems stronger than ever. Her gaze is intense and fierce, all weakness gone. She smiles for the first time since Stefan took her wings, but there's a hard glint in her eye that wasn't there before. Cut to interior Maleficent's retreat, dusk. Maleficent sleeps on a dark place in the woods near crop fields. She opens her eyes at the sound of birds. She looks up to watch the birds ride in the wind in the sky above. She's lost in bittersweet memories briefly. Exterior, a farmer's field, her point of view. The raven from years earlier sits on a stalk studying the pile of ripe corn on the ground. It flies down and snatches an ear. A heavy net falls over him.
Got him!
The raven struggles to escape. Two farmers approach with heavy clubs. From her retreat, Maleficent watches the humans hatefully. The farmers advance on the bird, raising their clubs.
Now a man.
The raven transforms into a man. Diaval finds himself on the ground in a naked human body. The farmers are stunned. Diaval throws off the net and climbs to his feet unsteadily.
It's a devil.
I am the devil. I come from hell for you.
The frightened farmers run away. Am I saying that right? What's his?
Diaval.
Okay. Diaval drops the club and looks at the human body with dismay. As a man, Diaval is Irish with silky black hair and dark eyes. His voice has a rich, melodic Irish lilt. He also has a touch of vanity and is prone to preening. Maleficent steps out of the shadows.
What have you done to my beautiful self?
Would you rather I let them beat you to death?
He lifts his wingless arms and looks down at his naked body.
I'm not certain.
Stop complaining. I saved your life.
Forgive me. I'm in your debt.
She tosses him a cape to cover himself. He looks her over.
What happened to your wings?
You remember me.
They were magnificent.
You will be my wings now.
Interior Henry's castle, the hall, day. King Henry rants and raves at Stefan.
You said they would return.
I never said.
You said they wouldn't follow a wingless leader.
Binding spell's still in place.
I don't want excuses. I should be rich and control of all the land. Instead, my kingdom is in ruins.
He waves toward the open window. Stefan glances out. Exterior, the countryside, their point of view. The crops are dead. The human structures are destroyed as if a tornado has come through. Interior, the tower, the same view. The pixies stand out on the tower battlements looking out. Butterflies swarm around Flittle's head.
You think Maleficent did this?
Who else could it be?
Why would she do it?
She's evil for evil's sake.
What does that mean?
She doesn't need a reason. Interior, the tower stairs, day. They go down the winding stairs to a small landing. They go through one door, then down another set of stairs. They turn in a circle, confused.
Where are we?
This way.
No, this way.
She opens the door. She gasps at what she sees inside. She stumbles back into the other two. They lose their footing and all fall screaming down the stairs. Interior, the Great Hall day.
I should have known not to trust someone who was raised by elves.
Fair people.
If you don't do something about that evil witch,
Not a witch.
I gave you my daughter's hand. I made you next in line to my throne. If you don't do something, I'll annul the marriage and throw you in the dungeon.
The pixies tumble into the room and land in a pile on the floor. Little butterflies scatter in the air.
Get those useless imbeciles out of my sight.
One of the butterflies flies into his mouth. He sucks it in, gags, and chokes. The fairies giggle. Henry staggers, trying to breathe. His crown falls onto the floor. Stefan's eyes fill with a dark realization. He waves the pixies away. Knotgrass and Flittle grab Thistlewit and run out. Henry's face is turning purple. Stefan leans down. Henry thinks he's going to help him, but Stefan merely picks up the fallen crown and walks out. On the window, Diaval the Raven has seen the whole thing. He flies away. Exterior Stefan's forest later. Maleficent paces in a clearing. Diaval the man has finished telling her what he has witnessed.
And now he'll be king. He did this to me so he could be king.
She screams with frustration and rage. White fire erupts from her. A nearby tree bursts into flames. The flames sweep from one tree to the next. She's so lost in her fury, she doesn't realize she set the trees on fire.
Mistress, you don't know what you're doing. This is not what you want. Mistress!
His words get through, her anger fades, and now she sees the trees burning.
No.
She closes her eye. With supreme effort, she draws the flames back to herself. She closes her robes, snuffing them out, then falls to her knees, exhausted. Smoke rises from her. She looks up, aghast to see the ruined trees. She closes her eyes again. New magic flows from her to the trees. New bark grows, new green leaves sprout. Soon they are as beautiful as they were. She stands up renewed, as if deep catharsis has occurred.
Come, Diaval. I've been gone too long.
He lands on her shoulder. Exterior the fairy mound, night. Kinloch and a group of fairies attempt to retake the throne while Maleficent's guards are sleeping. But they wake up, slavering and snarling. Kinloch throws magic at them, but it has no effect. The guards advanced upon them. The largest guard throws Kinloch to the ground and steps on him, laughing. The others grab fairies and toss them into the air like rag dolls or attempt to pull their wings off like cruel children. The fairies scream.
Stop!
The guards drop the fairies and look around nervously. Maleficent stands in the shadows with Diaval on her shoulder. She sets the horns on her head, then gathers her courage and steps boldly to view.
Maleficent.
She sets her jaw and walks through the astonished fairies toward the throne.
Where are wings?
She's lost her wings.
She faces the largest guard who stands between her and the throne. She waves him out of the way.
Move.
He spits at her. Brackish ooze rolls down her cheek. The fairies pull back nervously. She moves to grab him, but he flies up into the air. The other guards fly up and circle her from above. He starts to fly out to defend her.
Diaval.
She waves him away. She looks up at her own minions circling above. They drop down, claws extended, screaming like banshees. She fights them with white fire and sheer power of will. Finally, all but 5 guards lay on the ground at her feet, subdued, but alive. Gasping and bloodied from the fight, she walks past them, steps into the Queen's stone, on her way to the throne. The stone screams, startling her. She stumbles off and turns back to it angrily.
I've had enough of that.
She holds her staff out over the stone and slowly raises it. The stone is uprooted from the ground, hangs in the air. She makes a motion with her staff. The stone is flung away. It lands with a heavy thud somewhere in the far distance. She sits down on the throne. Diaval lands on her shoulder.
Anyone else want to challenge me?
No one says a word. Exterior the moors, stream, day. Maleficent bathes in the cold water. Diaval lands on the tree branch nearby. Maleficent washes her back and finds one of the long raised scars. Her fingers linger there. Maleficent covers herself with her cape as she emerges from the water. She waves her hand.
Now a man.
Diaval transforms into a man hidden by bushes. She tosses him a small bag of clothes she carries for him.
Tell me.
Diaval emerges fully clothed. He's nervous about delivering the news.
King Stefan and Queen Leah have had a child.
The news she has been dreading.
Oh, blessed day. Have they named the little beast?
Aurora.
The Dawn. How clever.
They're having a christening soon.
And you didn't bring my invitation.
Exterior King Stefan's castle day. People dressed in formal attire approach the castle. Festive flags fly. Interior the great hall day. People fill the hall. Stefan and Leah greet the well-wishers. Knotgrass, Flittle, and Thistlewit enter.
Not those three.
Be gracious, Stefan. They have magical gifts for our child.
I don't want any butterflies around the baby.
The pixies stand over the baby's bassinet. Old Queen Mary attends her. Knotgrass reaches out and touches the baby's forehead. Sweet Aurora, I give you the gift of beauty. Flittle reaches in to touch the baby.
Dear child, you will
She notices the blue lady in the crowd.
never be blue, but happy all the days of your life.
It's Thistlewit's turn, but before she can speak, doors bang open. Wind whistles through, thunder cracks, and then Maleficent is there. She stands before the throne, an evil smile on her face. Diaval flies in and perches on her shoulder. Stefan is suddenly very afraid.
Maleficent. Maleficent.
Well, well. Quite a glittering assemblage, King Stefan. Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and how quaint, even the rabble. It looks like you got what you always wanted. You would have done anything to... Well, you did, didn't you? I must say I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You're not welcome here.
Oh dear, what an awkward situation. You must be the mother. You must be so proud of your little one.
You stay away from her.
Oh, Stefan, do you really think I would harm an innocent babe? I only want to bestow my own gift on the child.
The pixies stand in front of the bassinet protectively. Maleficent laughs.
You three. Well, there's fierce protection. Out of my way, gnats.
She waves her hand at them. Fierce wind blows them back. Part of Thistlewit's hair is blown off. She grabs her head aghast. Maleficent pulls aside the drapery and leans over the bassinet. Baby Aurora is as adorable as babies get. She looks at the baby. Jealousy fills her heart. The old anger and revenge rise up in her again. She looks at Stefan as if it is only the two of them in the room.
You stole something precious from me, and now you owe me something precious in return.
What are you going to do?
Maleficent holds up a finger to her lips, signaling for him to be quiet. She looks down at the baby again.
The princess will indeed be blessed with grace and beauty, beloved by all who meet her. She will know happiness all the days of her life, her brief life.
Did you say brief?
Oh, don't do this.
Maleficent shifts her gaze to Stefan. There is no mercy in her eyes, only hatred.
Guards!
The castle guards move in on Maleficent, but she holds up her staff, stopping them mid-step. Leia is so frightened that she's almost in tears. Maleficent glances over to the corner and sees Queen Mary's spinning wheel.
Listen well, all of you. At the toll of midnight on her 16th birthday, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel.
She looks around at the frightened faces, holding their breaths. Maleficent takes her time, enjoying this.
And die.
Faces fill with horror. Leia screams. She looks at Stefan.
Fair is fair.
Please don't do this. I'm sorry for what I did to you.
Not sorry enough.
She shifts her robes, laughing evilly. White fire erupts around her.
Wait, listen to me!
She disappears in the smoke. Diaval circles the hall. He flies out the open door. Commotion erupts. Leia runs to the bassinet and scoops up the child.
Stefan, do something.
Flustered, he points to Thistlewit.
You haven't given your gift yet.
Can she undo the curse?
No, Maleficent's much too powerful now.
You could alter it somehow.
Alter it?
Change it, you idiot! Change Maleficent's curse!
But I'm only a flower pixie.
We'll help you. Knotgrass and Flittle take her hands. Leia holds the baby out toward her. Flittle's butterflies flit around her.
I can't think with all these butterflies.
Flittle draws her butterflies away. Knotgrass whispers in her ear. Thistlewit repeats it.
Aurora will prick her finger on her 16th birthday, but it'll not be,
Knotgrass whispers again. She continues.
death that claims her, only sleep.
Stefan nods. Now Flittle whispers into Thistlewit's ear.
And she can only be woken by true love's kiss.
Stefan cringes slightly at this, but none of them notice. Thistlewit touches the baby's forehead.
Done.
My child is saved.
Maleficent won't be stopped that easily. Burn all the spinning wheels!
Cut to exterior, the moors, the Fairy Mound night. Maleficent sits on a throne, telling the guards about it. Diaval watches from nearby.
He was begging me. You should have seen their faces. Not our baby.
She sighs with deep satisfaction.
Revenge is everything they say it is.
The guards grunt and slaver in agreement, but Diaval twists his head, bothered. Exterior, King Stefan's castle, the nursery, night. The pixies and Queen Mary watch over the bassinet. Queen Mary snores.
I don't think Stefan likes us very much.
We did treat him badly when he was young.
Yes. It was a little fault for being halfling.
He'd like to get rid of us, but we know too much. Flittle sighs, playing with her butterflies.
I wish we could go home to our fields and flowers.
Maleficent will never let us come back now.
So we're trapped here with me and Stefan?
Stefan enters.
Mean King Stefan. And you're right. I cannot stand the three of you. So I have a task that'll keep you out of my sight for a very long time.
Exterior, King Stefan's castle, night. The pixies sit in a wagon in rough peasant clothes. Leia holds the baby distraught. Diaval watches them from a nearby tree.
Don't do this.
You want our child to be safe?
He pulls the baby out of her arms and hands her to the pixies.
Take the baby deep into the forest. Hide her there. On the day after her 16th birthday, bring her back to us. Do you understand?
They nod.
Say it. What will you do?
Hide the baby
Hide
in the
the baby
woods.
in the woods.
Until When?
Until
her
her 16th birthday.
birthday.
That's stupid.
He whips the horse.
Stay away from the moors.
Leah weeps bitterly.
Stop crying. You can have another child.
He motions for Queen Mary to take her, and he speaks to his captain.
Arm the men with iron weapons. Hunt Maleficent down. When you find her, show no mercy.
Exterior the road day. Diaval sits in a tree at the side of the road. Pixie's wagon stops beneath. A baby cries in the back. Don your kerchiefs, ladies. We must wear them at all times, so we will not be recognized. They put them on. The wagon continues on. Exterior clearing in the forest later. An abandoned cottage sits in a clearing. Diaval lands on the roof. The pixie's wagon approaches. What we need is an abandoned cottage where no one will find us. He squawks to draw their attention.
Like that one?
She points to the cottage. Exactly. We need a cottage just like that one. Be on the lookout. They keep driving past it, right out of the clearing. Diaval twists his head as if he can't believe what idiots they are. After a moment, the wagon appears again. The pixies study the cottage, then scream and run into it. They brush away cobwebs, open the door, and go inside. Flowers burst from the windows. Climbing roses speed up the rough walls. Diaval flies off. Exterior the fairy mound day. Maleficent sits on her throne as Diaval, the man, fills her in.
He's trusting those idiots to raise his baby? That's priceless. I have to see this for myself.
Exterior the cottage day. The cottage teems with flowers inside and out. Maleficent and Diaval peek into the window at the baby in a basket. Maleficent looks at her with undisguised dislike.
It's so ugly, I could almost feel sorry for it.
Diaval looks at the baby. On the baby, his point of view. It gurgles. Nothing could be cuter. They hear the pixies and back away. On the kitchen, their point of view. The pixies stand around the basket looking at the baby who started to cry.
I can't stand the crying. She's giving me a headache.
Quiet, baby!
All she thinks about is herself.
Maybe she's hungry?
Do you think she likes fruit?
All babies like fruit. They put a whole uncut apple, a banana, and an orange in the basket with the baby.
That should shut her up for a while.
They walk away. Exterior cottage day.
That baby is going to starve with those three looking after it.
Maleficent walks away, unconcerned. Diaval twists his head, worried for the child. He flies away briefly, then returns with a large white flower. Interior the kitchen day. He hops in the window and onto the edge of the basket. He holds the milk flower to the baby's mouth. She sucks on it happily. Cut to exterior the cottage night. The baby wails inside the cottage. Diaval paces on a long branch in a tree anxiously. Finally, he flies over and looks in the window. On the pixies, Diaval's point of view. The pixies sleep right through the baby's wails. They have cotton stuffed in their ears. Diaval hops inside. Interior the cottage night. The baby cries in its cradle. Diaval hops onto the edge. He uses his weight to make it rock gently. Gradually, the baby stops crying. Cut to exterior the forest night. As Diaval flies through the forest, he hears human sounds, horses, hooves, shouts. Cut to exterior another part of the forest night. Diaval flies toward Maleficent urgently. She waves her hand to transform him.
Now a man.
He transforms into a man. She tosses him his clothes. He changes behind the bushes.
Stefan's men are on the hunt for you. He's armed them with iron weapons.
I have weapons of a different sort.
She lifts her staff. A thick mist rises in the forest on Stefan's men. They're enveloped in an impenetrable mist. There's mass confusion. Retreat! I'm Maleficent. She moves away through the forest. Without warning, Stefan's men come out of the mist directly ahead. Their horses charge toward her. She doesn't have time to run. Suddenly, an enormous silver wolf leaps out in front of her. The horses panic and rear. The wolf chases them away. Maleficent sits down on a rock and waits. In a moment, her father approaches.
I could have handled that myself.
I shouldn't have interfered.
It's not like you.
Don't know what came over me. But I'm glad to see you've come back with a vengeance. The curse was masterful.
Stefan deserves everything he gets.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Exactly.
I'm proud of you. It's just the sort of thing I would have done.
He walks away into the mist. Maleficent thinks about that. Oddly unsettled. Cut to interior King Stefan's castle. The captain shakes off his heavy helmet. He's dusty and exhausted. Stefan holds up a hand.
Don't speak unless the words are Maleficent is dead.
The captain drops his head and trudges out. Dissolved to exterior on meadow day. A child's screams and laughter fills the air. The pixies chase a 3-year-old Aurora across the meadow. Exterior, a tree, day. Maleficent and Diaval watch from a high tree across a steep gully beyond them. The meadow, Knotgrass, stumbles and falls. There's a pixie pileup. Get up!
I've lost my slipper.
Stepping on my hair.
As they pinch and squeal, toddler Aurora runs on. On the baby, Maleficent's point of view. The unsupervised toddler runs straight toward the steep drop-off of the gully.
Little beastie is going to fall into that ravine.
On the pixies. The pixies haven't even noticed that Aurora is gone. On Maleficent and Diaval.
Do they even know she's gone?
He flies off to alert them. On the toddler, she's coming closer to the drop-off. On Maleficent, she's getting nervous.
Go back. You're going to fall.
On the toddler, she's still not sawing. She runs right to the edge of the drop-off. On Maleficent.
Go back!
On the toddler, she runs right off the edge. But she doesn't fall. She hangs in midair, her chubby legs still running in place. On Maleficent, she holds out the staff, magically keeping the baby in the air. On the baby laughs gleefully. On Maleficent, she smiles despite herself. She spins the staff. On the toddler, the baby spins upside down and back around and keeps running in midair back off the cliff. Her little feet land on the firm ground, and she runs back the way she came. On Maleficent, she drops the staff and shakes her head. Exterior, the meadow, day. Diaval flies around the pixie's head, trying to get their attention. They swat at him.
Go away.
Diaval snatches at Thistlewit's hair.
Don't touch the hair.
Diaval hears laughter. He sees the toddler coming back toward the pixies. She runs to them. They pick her up. There you are. Dissolved to exterior, the fairy mound, day. Maleficent sits on her throne. Diaval is perched on her shoulder. He preens his feathers. She draws absently in the dirt with her staff. They're both thinking of Aurora.
Wonder what the little beastie is up to.
They both leap up a little too eagerly. Exterior, the cottage, day. The pixies are having a picnic. Aurora is 5 years old now. Maleficent and Diaval observed from the forest shadows. An autumn downpour is suddenly drenches the pixies. They scream and run into the house, forgetting all about Aurora. Aurora follows them back into the cottage, but they've already closed the door. She pounds on it, but no one answers. She cries. Still no one comes. Maleficent and Diaval look at each other. Aurora goes around the cottage looking for a way in, sobbing and getting drenched. Maleficent throws up her hands in disgust. She lifts the staff. A gale-force wind angrily blows the front door off its hinges. Interior, the cottage, day. The pixies stare at the broken-down door. Aurora walks in, drenched and crying. There you are. Dissolved to exterior, the forest, day. Aurora is 7. She gathers berries. She sits down under a tree to eat a few. In a moment, her eyes close and she drifts off. A snake crawls towards her from the bushes. Gets closer. Suddenly, a tall, horned shadow looms over the sleeping girl. Maleficent's staff lifts the snake and tosses it away. On Maleficent, she stands over the sleeping child. Her expression softens briefly. Then she shakes her head as if admonishing herself for having a weak moment. She glances up at Diaval in the tree.
What?
He turns his head away as if he saw nothing. Dissolved 2, exterior the woods, day. Aurora is now 10 years old. She plays sword fight with an invisible friend near a rushing river.
Yeah. Have it.
Her game takes her to the river. She crosses on the stepping stones but loses her balance and falls into the river. Exterior the river on Aurora. The current is strong. She's swept downstream. She goes under, comes up, gasping, grabs for the tree roots, anything. She goes under again. Her hand reaches up and finds Maleficent's staff. She grabs onto it with both hands and she's pulled onto the bank. Exterior the bank, day. She lays face down on the bank, not moving. Maleficent's horned shadow leans over her to see if she's breathing. Aurora gasps. Maleficent's shadow retreats. Dissolve 2, exterior on Aurora and Maleficent's shadow, day. 15-year-old Aurora runs toward the fairy path and the moors beyond. Maleficent's shadow with Diaval on her shoulder tracks her as she goes. Come back, Aurora! Aurora turns around. Maleficent's shadow quickly blends in with the shadow of a rock. Aurora is very pretty with tiny, delicate features. The pixies beckon her from the cottage.
Don't go near the moors.
Why can't I?
Because we said so.
You always say that.
On Maleficent and Diaval, the man, they sit on the rock, watching her go inside.
They're going about this all wrong. If they tell her no, that's exactly what she'll do.
May I ask you a question?
That depends.
When are you planning to undo your curse,
Who said I was planning to undo it?
mistress?
I hate the little beastie.
You hate Stefan. May I ask freely?
You can't seem to help yourself.
You're not as bad as you think you are.
Annoyed, she waves her hand to transform him.
Be a bird.
But this time, he catches her hand and holds it.
Every time you don't like what I have to say, you transfer me back into a bird.
I thought you liked being a bird.
He looks at her with more feelings than he can share.
Not as much as I used to.
Maleficent looks away. She waves her hand abruptly and transforms him. Interior Stefan's castle, the Great Hall, day. King Stefan has aged beyond his years. Children run and scream. Leo is with child again.
Your children are driving me mad.
They're your children too.
The captain approaches. He bows and removes his helmet. He's gone gray.
Well,
Captain shakes his head.
I don't want to hear that.
He didn't say anything. Let the man speak.
Sire, my men and I have searched the length and breadth of the land, kingdom to kingdom, shore to shore, and back again. We have endured rainstorms, blizzards, gale force winds, scorching heat, and the attack of countless wild creatures, but Maleficent is not to be found. I am sorry I have failed you.
You're dismissed.
The captain trudges off, secretly relieved.
Why are you still looking for that witch?
Not a witch.
She may be dead.
Not dead. I would know if she were.
Leo looks at her husband curiously.
Is there something you haven't told me?
No.
You have to forget about Maleficent. Oh, okay. Aurora will be returned to us soon, and this unpleasantness will be behind us.
What is your mother doing?
Old Queen Mary sits by the window at a spinning wheel.
Spinning, Stefan. She enjoys the work.
I had all spinning wheels destroyed.
It's been years. I'm certain Maleficent has forgotten all about that silly insult at the christening.
She has not forgotten. Maleficent cannot be underestimated. We have to remain diligent, especially now. I want that spinning wheel burned.
Leo looks at her husband, thinking of all the other men she might have married. Exterior the fairy mound, night. Maleficent sits on her throne, surrounded by the guards. Diaval sits on her shoulder. Kinloch and some fairies approach.
Your Majesty.
She's instantly defensive.
What is it? Don't you like the way I govern? All's well in the moors, is it not?
Yes,
Then what seems to be the problem?
we're not free to go to the human world.
Ah, well, that's a price we all must learn to live with. Now go away before I become unpleasant.
Become?
Maleficent heard that. She levels her dark gaze on him.
This is not unpleasant. Do you want to see what unpleasant looks like?
Maleficent's face changes. Her darkest nature comes to the surface. Anger and bitterness twist her face that she does not look true, so that she does look truly frightening. White fire erupts all around her. Kinloch and fairies rush away. Maleficent strokes Diaval.
He made me do that. I didn't enjoy it at all.
Interior of the cottage, night. Maleficent stands outside the cottage. In the window, her point of view. She can see Aurora in her nightgown getting ready for bed. On Maleficent, she looks torn as if battling dark forces within. She turns abruptly and walks away. Interior Aurora's bedroom. She lies in her bed. Pixies open the door. Is she asleep yet? She closes her eyes, pretending. They close the door. Interior of the kitchen, night. The pixies take off their tattered peasant sweaters like too tight brassiers and release their wings, stretching them out. Interior Aurora's bedroom. She opens up her eyes again and sits up. She looks out the window. On the moors, her point of view. The mist rises up across the hills in the distance. The moors seem to beckon her. On Aurora. Aurora looks back at the kitchen, then opens the window and slips out into the night. Exterior the fairy path, night. Aurora runs across the fairy path into the moors, leaping with mischievous joy. Exterior the moors, night. Aurora follows the fairy path. She hears the fairy voices. She stops to listen. On the moorland fairies, her point of view. She sees the fair folk camouflaged in the flowers, trees, streams, and ponds.
I knew you were there.
Exterior the cottage, night. Maleficent has returned. She approaches the cottage soundlessly. She sees Aurora's window, open now. She frowns and looks inside. On Aurora's bedroom, her point of view. The bed is empty. Aurora's nowhere in sight. Exterior the cottage, night. Worried, Maleficent moves around the kitchen to the window. Interior the kitchen, night. The pixies fly around the kitchen, bashing into each other, knocking things over and laughing hysterically. Milk jugs lay spilt on the table. Butterflies abound. On Maleficent, she looks around for Aurora in a panic. Diaval flies toward her. She waves her hand to transform him.
Now a man.
He transforms before he lands. He hits the ground hard.
Oh. Then you gotta wait until I've landed.
Have you seen Aurora?
Spotted her on the moors.
Then what are you doing here? You shouldn't have left her alone. She can't wander out there by herself.
Thought you hated her.
She hurries away. He looks down at his human body.
Don't leave me like this.
On Maleficent. She waves an impatient hand over her head.
Be a bird.
In a moment, Diaval strafes her head just a little too close.
Stay with her.
Exterior the moors, on the blackthorn tree, night. The full moon shines down on Aurora, who stands at the bottom of the tree looking up at the elves. They screech at her. She's not afraid of them. Diaval circles overhead and lands in a nearby tree to keep watch. A peat bog. Aurora approaches the peat bog and watches the waller bogs drool and dribble. On Maleficent's moon shadow, Aurora's point of view. Maleficent's shadow looms over her suddenly. It's distinct and clear in the moonlight. Aurora smiles to see it.
I know you're there.
The shadow retreats suddenly. She turns around.
Don't be afraid.
Maleficent's amused voice answers from behind the rocks.
I am not afraid.
Then come out.
Then you will be afraid.
I won't. Come out.
Maleficent emerges. Aurora smiles, not the least bit surprised by her appearance.
Hello, fairy godmother.
Maleficent tries not to laugh.
You think I'm your fairy godmother?
Who else would you be? You've been watching over me my whole life.
Somebody had to.
I've always known about you, ever since I was a little girl.
She turns around so that Maleficent's shadow falls over her again.
You see? That's the shadow I've been seeing ever since I was small. Wherever I went, that shadow was always with me. But don't you have a bird?
In the shadow, Diaval lands on Maleficent's shoulder.
This is Diaval.
Aurora turns and reaches up to pet him. He preens. Wild, elvish women and web-footed sprites with sharp teeth watch them from the thick, tangled roots of trees. Aurora sees them.
Who are they?
Maleficent steps between them.
Not everyone you meet in the moors is benevolent. You must never come out here alone.
I'm not afraid.
That's enough for one night.
But
Maleficent waves her hand in front of her eyes.
Sleep.
Aurora goes limp. Maleficent catches her by lifting her hands. Aurora floats in the air. Exterior the forest near dawn. A prone, sleeping Aurora drifts back toward the cottage. Diaval flies ahead and Maleficent walks behind. Interior the cottage, Aurora's bedroom. Maleficent lowers her back into the bed. She pulls the covers up, then she waves her hands over her.
My curse is undone. You are free to live a long and happy life, and you will never tell your aunts about me. Good night, beastie.
Exterior the cottage the next morning. The kitchen is a disaster. Flittle climbs onto a stack of chairs to get to the vase. Thistlewit and Knotgrass sit at the table. Thistlewit has her head in her hands.
I drank too much milk. Why did you let me do that?
Where's your kerchief?
I lost it.
Knotgrass tries to put a kerchief on Thistlewit, pushes her away. Flittle reaches for the vase. She loses her balance and falls to the floor.
Ah, that wouldn't have happened if I could use my wings.
Shh, she'll be up soon.
I want to fly again.
I go back to the castle.
So do I. Do you think I like being trapped in this poor little cottage with you two imbeciles? They start to cry. Aurora walks in to find her aunts bawling. She shakes her head as if this is nothing.
there. What happened this time?
I fell and hurt myself.
She helps Flittle up.
Poor old thing. Wait, I have a question. How old are you? You've looked the same my whole life. And another thing, why do we have spring flowers even in winter?
She waves at the butterflies.
And where are all these butterflies coming from anyway?
No one ventures an answer.
So did you sleep well?
And why do you always ignore my questions?
They putter around the kitchen. Would you like breakfast? Cabbage?
She doesn't want cabbage for breakfast. Who eats cabbage for breakfast?
I didn't say, do you want cabbage for breakfast? I said, do you want breakfast cabbage? Aurora shakes her head and looks skyward. Why me? Exterior of the moor is a peat bog another night. Aurora plays in the peat bog with the waller bogs. Mud flies. She laughs hysterically. Maleficent and Diaval share their amusement. Exterior of the moors, another night. Aurora and Maleficent sit together on a rock overlooking the moors. They watch Diaval soar high on the wind above.
And he's also a man?
If I want him to be.
Aurora watches heather fairies fly over the meadows below.
Do all the fair people have wings?
Most do.
Then why don't you?
The old anger suddenly rises up in Maleficent.
I said most do.
Aurora's taken aback.
I'm sorry I asked.
Maleficent softens.
I had wings once.
What happened to them?
They were stolen from me. That's all I'll say about it.
What color were they?
Black. And that's enough about them.
Aurora waits a minute.
How big were they?
Aurora.
Aurora goes quiet. Maleficent looks off, remembering.
So big they dragged behind me when I walked. And they were strong. They could carry me above the clouds and straight into the headwinds. They never faltered, not once. I could trust them.
Aurora can see her loss and regret. She takes her hand. Maleficent looks down at Stefan's child hand in her own. Her heart freezes. She pulls it away.
Time to go back.
Exterior of the moors near dawn. They walk back together across the misty hills. Diaval flies above.
I have a confession to make.
Do you?
All day long, all I can think about is coming back to the moors. I love it here. It feels like home to me.
This is not your home.
Aurora walks a little ahead of her.
Then where is it? And don't tell me it's the cottage with my aunts.
Steps onto the edge of the white stone that is just up from the ground. As her foot lands briefly on it, it roars, shaking the ground. Aurora jumps off quickly.
What was that?
Maleficent looks around, alarmed.
Come back quickly.
Aurora hurries back toward her and steps on the stone again. It roars. Aurora runs to her side. Maleficent and Diaval look at the white stone. On the Queen's stone. It's tilted and half buried in the sod and grass.
So that's where it fell.
What is it?
Maleficent looks from the Queen's stone to Aurora and back again with shock and realization.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Go to sleep.
She waves her hand in front of her eyes. Aurora goes limp. Maleficent keeps her aloft as she sleeps. She looks at Diaval.
How is this possible?
She closes her eyes and holds her staff over the stone. She slowly raises it out of the ground and sets it upright on top of the ground. She brushes the dirt away. Then she slowly lowers the prone, sleeping Aurora onto the Queen's stone. She's so small, she fits on it perfectly. As her body settles down, the stone purrs, exactly the way it did when Ula stood on it years earlier. Maleficent looks at Diaval with disbelief. Cut to exterior of the moors, ruined castle dusk. Maleficent stands before the ruins. In a moment, her father appears.
This is an interesting twist of fate.
If Aurora is the true queen, then maybe I should step down.
You'd give up your throne to the child of your sworn enemy, no less. What's gotten into you?
It was never mine. I took it by force.
You did what had to be done at the time. Forget about the stone. Bury it. No one will ever know.
I will know.
There's that conscience again. I think the raven is right about you.
He seems disappointed as he walks back to the ruins. Exterior of the moors night, Maleficent walks, practicing what she's going to say.
Something you need to know. This is going to come as a big shock. No, sit down.
She hears Aurora's laughter. She listens. There's another unfamiliar voice, a young man's voice. The words are not distinct. Maleficent peers through the foliage. On Aurora and Philip, her point of view. Aurora is talking to a handsome young man who holds a white horse.
I better be on my way.
What's your name?
Philip, maybe I'll be lucky enough to see you again.
Then I would be lucky too.
Where do you live?
She opens her arms.
Here.
Then I'll see you here.
He rides off. Aurora watches him go with a secret smile. Maleficent's moon shadow looms over her suddenly.
And who was that?
No one.
I saw you talking to a man. Who was it?
His name was Philip. He lost his way.
You are not to talk to strangers.
You sound just like my aunts.
I am not like your aunts.
Then why are you acting like them?
I'm trying to keep you safe.
I'm almost 16. I can take care of myself.
She turns and runs off. Maleficent doesn't go after her.
Fine, go on. Get yourself out of your own mess. I've had enough of it.
She steams for a moment, then looks over at Diaval in a nearby tree.
Well, go after her.
Exterior dark pond night. Aurora sits down on a rock to skulk. A long green arm emerges from the water and reaches toward her. Diaval arrives just as the green water woman grabs Aurora's ankle. The green woman pulls Aurora towards the water. Diaval dives at her. On Maleficent, she hears his cry. She listens.
No, let me go.
Maleficent runs. Exterior pond night. Aurora kicks at the green woman as she pulls her toward the water.
Let go.
On Maleficent, she runs. Her robes fly behind like wings. Pond, the green woman has Aurora in the water. Diaval dives at her. Aurora screams as the cold water closes over her head. Exterior dark pond underwater. The green woman drags her down into the depths. Diaval dives into the water after them. He stabs at the green woman with his beak. Aurora struggles to get out of her grasp. Suddenly, Maleficent plunges into the water. She pulls Aurora out of the green woman's grip. Aurora swims to the surface as Maleficent, the green woman, and Diaval battle underwater. Exterior, the banks of the pond day. Coughing and gasping, Aurora drags herself out of the pond. She runs. Exterior, the pond underwater. The battle continues until the green woman floats away lifelessly. Maleficent kicks to the surface. She explodes out of the water, gasping for air. She climbs onto the bank and sees the raven's body floating into the water. She picks him up and lays him on the bank. He doesn't move.
Diaval?
She waves his hands over him frantically.
Now a man.
Diaval transforms, but he's still not breathing.
Diaval! Diaval!
She pounds on his chest. He gasps suddenly and gulps for air. Maleficent leans back, more relieved than she had ever thought she'd be. Diaval sits up.
I thought I'd lost you.
But this is too revealing.
Then what would I do for wings?
Diaval covers his disappointment at her cavalier attitude. He looks around.
Where's Aurora?
Interior of the cottage, Aurora's bedroom. Aurora sleeps in her bed. Maleficent stands over her.
Aurora?
She doesn't stir. Maleficent pulls the covers over her gently and goes out. Diaval sits in the window for a moment before he flies away. After they've gone, Aurora opens her eyes. Interior of the cottage, Aurora's bedroom, day. The pixies burst into her bedroom, waking her abruptly.
Why not?
No, Travis.
Happy birthday, Cabbage.
We're going on a lovely journey today. Aurora looks out the window at the moors.
I don't want to go on a journey.
You don't have a choice. Get her dressed. They throw clothes at her. Exterior of the cottage day. The pixies are in the wagon. Aurora is reluctant. She looks out at the moors.
I'm not going.
Why not?
There's someone I need to talk to.
Oh, you don't know anyone.
I'm not going.
Knotgrass finally loses it. 16 years we looked after you out here in the middle of nowhere in that broken down raggedy hovel for 16 years.
We put up with your whining and crying and puking and
All your stupid questions that we don't know the answers to.
We've done our job, now we're giving you back. Get in the wagon. They pull her into the wagon forcefully and jam her in between them. Knotgrass whips the horse. Aurora looks back at the Moors as they drive off. Cut to exterior King Stefan's castle, evening. The Pixie's wagon approaches as at the castle with a dead run. Interior, the Great Hall, evening. The hall is being set for Aurora's arrival for the next day. Servants set up tables. Children run through. Leo holds a baby. Pixies enter with Aurora. She's utterly bewildered.
we're back.
What are you doing here? You are not to arrive until tomorrow.
Today is your 16th birthday.
I told you to bring her the day after her birthday.
Aurora looks at the heavy, oppressive room, the iron filigree above. She puts her hand on the stone wall and pulls it back quickly. She shudders.
Well, it's been a long time. How can we be expected to remember?
Should have known not to trust flower pixies. Where's the child?
He looks right past Aurora. They push her toward him.
Here.
This.
Aurora, meet your mother and father. Aurora is so shocked she can't speak. Leia hands her baby to a nursemaid and opens her arms to Aurora.
Come over here and let me have a look at you.
She backs up a step.
What are we going to do with her? The idiot pixies have brought her back a day too soon.
Flittle folds her arms.
Well, we're not taking her back.
I can't stay anyway.
She rubs the tip of her index finger absently.
We'll have to lock you in a safe place for the night.
Why?
I know it's a terrible homecoming, dear, but your father's worried about some old curse.
I have to go back to the moors.
That life is over.
Stefan pulls her away. Flittle sees the lady with the blue face who's grown much older. She points at Flittle.
You ruined my life.
Flittle grabs Knotgrass urgently.
I've changed our mind. I want to go back to the horrid little cottage.
Interior of the hall day. Stefan ushers Aurora firmly down the hall.
Let me go back, please. This is a mistake.
Whining and begging may have softened the pixies, but not me.
He puts her in a room.
Welcome home. We'll talk in the morning when this is all over.
He closes the door and locks it. Exterior of the cottage, night. Shutters bang on the windows. Diaval lands on the sill and looks in. Maleficent emerges from the shadows and goes inside. Interior of the cottage, night. She walks through the messy, abandoned cottage. The flowers are wilted without the pixie's presence there. One stray butterfly has been left behind. She goes into Aurora's bedroom. Interior Aurora's bedroom, night. But the bed is empty. Alarm floods her face.
Diaval,
He flies in the window.
those idiots have taken her. Fly to Stefan's castle. I have no wings. Fly.
Interior Stefan's castle, the kitchen, night. The pixies gorge themselves on milk and pastries while the servants bustle around them. Diaval lands in the window. Even if we did bring her back too soon, we've still foiled Maleficent's curse.
She won't die when she pricks her finger thanks to our quick thinking.
My quick thinking, I was the one who said it will not be death that claims her only sleep.
Diaval twists his head curiously. I gave you that idea.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
And I thought up the part about true love's kiss.
No, you didn't.
Yes, she did.
It was my spell. I said she could only be woken by true love's kiss.
We gave it all to you.
No, you didn't.
Diaval is heard enough. He flies away. Interior Aurora's room, night. The moon shines on Aurora, who rubs the tip of her index finger again. She goes to the window and looks out. Diaval lands on the sill.
Diaval, is that you?
He flies off.
Where are you going?
She rubs her finger again. Interior, the hallway, night. Stefan paces nervously as he talks to his men. A small key to Aurora's room sits on the table.
Maleficent will come at midnight to watch her curse unfold. The moment she appears, use the iron. Do not hesitate.
Diaval lands on the table. Stefan sees him. He realizes and makes him grab for him. Diaval evades him and snatches the key in his beak.
Catch that bird!
Diaval flies around with the key in his beak, evading the men. He flies out of the room. Diaval flies down the hall, with Stefan's men behind. He startles the oncoming servants and knocks over the tables and chairs. Interior Aurora's room, night. She hears a commotion in the hall. A key rattles in the door. Exterior the hall, on Aurora's door. Diaval flutters as he tries to fit the key in the lock with his beak. Stefan's men run toward him. He finally manages to fit it in. The men throw objects. He evades them. Then he turns the key with his beak. Interior Aurora's room, night. She hears the lock turn and turns the knob. The door opens. Outside, the guards and the servants scream and throw things at the raven, who flap around to distract them. Aurora slips away unseen. Exterior the road, night. Maleficent runs as fast as her feet will take her. She looks skyward, wishing desperately for wings. Exterior the great hall, night. Stefan looks at the open door to Aurora's empty room.
Search the castle for Princess Aurora.
Exterior the road, night. Diaval flies toward Maleficent. He swoops down. She waves her hand.
Now a man.
He hits the ground running, transformed into a man. Maleficent tosses him a bag of clothes.
The pixies changed your curse.
My curse was undone years ago.
They replaced it with their own.
The pixies, they're not smart enough.
Listen, when she pricks her finger tonight, Aurora will fall asleep.
Fall asleep. Now there's a nasty curse.
And she can only be awoken by true love's kiss.
Her laughter fades abruptly.
Say that again.
She can only be awoken by true love's kiss.
But there's no such thing.
What?
There's no such thing as true love. It doesn't exist.
She's looking right at him, but she can't see the love in his eyes.
If she pricks her finger, she'll never wake up. She'll sleep forever. We have to stop her.
Cut to the interior of the tower room, night. Aurora races up the tower stairs. It runs into a small room to hide. The bell tower clock starts to clang midnight. 1. Interior tower room, night. She enters the tiny room. The clock clangs again. 2. Queen Mary sits under the moonlight, working at a spinning wheel.
Oh, Aurora, you've grown up to a lovely young lady.
The clock clangs. 3. Aurora rubs the tip of her finger, which is throbbing terribly.
Who are you?
Your grandmother, dear.
The clock clangs. 4. Exterior the road, night. Maleficent watches Diaval fly ahead. She runs until she can't run anymore. She doubles over to catch her breath. On Stefan's castle, her point of view. She can see it in the far distance. On Maleficent. But she knows she'll never make it in time. She lifts her fists in fury.
I need wings!
She hears a whinny. On the white horse. A magnificent white horse runs down the hill toward her. It stops at her side, nostrils flaring. She nods and leaps astride its bare back. They gallop. Interior the small tower room, night. Aurora can't take her eyes off the spindle.
Why are you spinning up here all alone?
She draws closer. Her finger throbs. The clock clangs. 5.
King Stefan wanted all the spinning wheels burned.
6.
Your mother and I hid this one up here where he would never find it.
7. Mesmerized, Aurora reaches out toward the spindle.
Don't touch. It's sharp. You could prick your finger.
8. She pulls her finger back and rubs it.
But I
9. She reaches her finger out again.
must.
10. Stefan runs into the room.
Stop!
11. Aurora pricks her finger on the spindle. Clock strikes 12. Aurora falls to the floor. Cut 2. Exterior on the road, Maleficent. Maleficent gasps as she feels Aurora fall. The horse stops as if it felt it too. She crumbles over the horse's neck. Despair fills her heart. Cut 2. Interior Stefan's castle, Aurora's room. Later, Aurora lies in her bed deep in enchanted sleep. Stefan and Leia look down at her. The pixies are there as well. Leia weeps.
Stop crying. She's only sleeping.
What do we do now?
Wasn't there something about a kiss to wake her?
They all turn to look at Thistlewit.
Why are you looking at me?
You're the one who changed the spell.
Me? But you said.
Find someone to kiss her. Someone suitable.
He goes out. Leia soothes the baby.
Not any kiss will do. It has to be true love's kiss. Well, that's what you said.
She goes out. The pixies look at each other. Cut to exterior outside Stefan's castle night. Maleficent watches the white horse gallop away to the top of the hill. With a heavy heart, she heads toward the castle. Something stops her. She looks back at the hill. Her father stands where the horse stood the moment before. He lifts his hand to her. Cut 2. Interior Aurora's bedroom later. Pixies have found a young man who stands over the bed looking at Aurora.
But is she sleeping?
She won't mind. He shrugs and kisses her. The pixies wait expectantly. She doesn't wake up.
You didn't do it right.
It's supposed to be true love's kiss.
True love? I don't even know her.
Get out. Cut 2. Exterior Stefan's castle night. Maleficent has arrived at the castle. She slips across the drawbridge in the shadows. Interior Aurora's bedroom night. The pixies have found another young man. This is the Princess Aurora.
Isn't she beautiful?
Yes, she is.
He's clearly very attracted to her.
Are you in love with her?
Absolutely.
You can kiss her then.
He kisses her eagerly. Aurora doesn't wake up.
If it were true love, you would have woken her up.
Let me try again.
He leans down. They push him away. Get out. Cut 2. Interior Stefan's castle night. Maleficent slips unseen through the halls. She looks into each room as she passes them. Diaval flies toward her. She transforms him.
Now a man.
He transforms. Very sad.
We've lost her.
Cut 2. Interior Aurora's bedroom night. The 3 pixies usher in another young man. It's Philip.
This is Princess Aurora.
He looks at the sleeping girl.
I know her.
That's helpful.
Why is she sleeping? She's trapped in enchantment. Isn't she beautiful?
He's smitten.
The most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
The pixies share an excited glance. This is going well. Do you want to kiss her?
Very much.
Then go ahead.
I wouldn't feel right. I barely know her. We only met once.
Haven't you ever heard of love at first sight?
Kiss her.
He leans down toward her. He leans up again.
An enchantment, you say?
Kiss her! No! They push him forward.
Don't push.
He leans down. The pixies hold their breaths. Prince kisses the princess. Their lips touch gently, perfectly. And nothing happens. The pixies' faces fall. Aurora sleeps on. Philip looks at the pixies.
Is something supposed to happen now?
Get out! They push him out. They trudge out to find another candidate. Exterior of the hallway, night. The pixies walk down the hall, dejected.
I was certain he was the one.
What's wrong with all these young men?
We have to keep looking. Dig deeper. Scrape up the bottom of the barrel.
He doesn't have to be a prince. He doesn't even have to be handsome.
All he has to do is be a man.
Interior, Aurora's bedroom, night. The moon shines down on Aurora. Maleficent enters. Diaval the man comes in behind her. Maleficent looks down, heartbroken. She sinks down at the edge of the bed.
This is my fault. I did this to you for revenge. I didn't know how much I could love you, but I promised to look after you every day for the rest of my life. Sleep well.
She kisses her gently on the forehead. Maleficent turns to walk away, and something magical occurs. Aurora opens her eyes.
Hello, Godmother.
Maleficent gasps and turns to see Aurora, awake and smiling at her. Maleficent is so astounded she can't speak for a moment. She finally finds her voice.
Hello, beastie.
She pulls her into her arms. Joyful tears fall. Diaval is overwhelmed as well.
No truer love.
He joins them.
Can we go home to the moors now?
Right now.
There's voices in the hall.
Wait.
He opens the door cautiously. Interior of the hall, night. Eerily quiet. No servants. No sounds.
Now a bird.
Diaval transforms and flies ahead to investigate. Interior of the great hall, night. He flies into the great hall. Maleficent and Aurora follow. There are no servants, no one about. The doors on the opposite side of the room stand open. Escape. Maleficent's eyes narrow suspiciously. They slink along the wall toward the open door. Diaval flies up to the rafters. He lands on the iron filigree where a heavy iron net has been hung. Maleficent looks up. Stefan appears at the door. Stefan.
Drop it.
The iron net falls from the ceiling. Maleficent pushes Aurora out of the way.
Get out of the castle!
She falls to her knees, dropping her staff. The net burns her exposed flesh. Aurora tries to pull the iron net off.
Get out of here! Go back to the moors!
Aurora backs away reluctantly.
Go now!
Aurora runs. Stefan nods for some of his men to go after her. Other men run out with the iron weapons and poke at Maleficent like a trapped animal. The pixies watch with horrified fascination. Interior of the tower stairs, night. Aurora runs up the stairs trying to get away from Stefan's men. She reaches the landing, runs to the door, and finds herself in another stairwell. She keeps climbing. The great hall. Maleficent tries to get up, but she's weakened by the iron. She reaches for her staff. Stefan kicks it out of the way. He walks around her.
I should have killed you that night. Would have saved us all a lot of trouble.
She glares at him with silent hatred. He nods to his men. Stefan's men draw their weapons. Diaval drops down in front of the raptors from them.
Kill that bird!
Some fight him off. Others stab at Maleficent. She grabs their weapons through the net, even though it burns her hands. Interior of the tower stairs, night. Aurora flings the door at the top of the stairs and runs inside. She peeks out to see if anyone's following, but feels something behind her. She turns, her eyes go wide. On Maleficent's wings. Her wings are bound in chains and held upright in a glass coffin. Aurora approaches them, awed by their size and beauty. She looks through the glass. They flutter suddenly, still alive. She steps back. They flap and struggle against their bonds. Realization fills Aurora's eyes. She places her hands on the glass.
Shh, she's here.
The wings settle down. Aurora touches the heavy iron lock. She gasps as it burns her. Interior, the great hall, night. Diaval fights Stefan's men.
Now an eagle.
He transforms into an eagle. He grabs the iron net over Maleficent and pulls it away. She gets up to her feet. Stefan runs to her with his iron sword. She evades him and throws her robes up. White fire erupts. He falls back. His men have thrown a chain around Diaval's claws. They pull him down and stab at him.
Now a bear.
Diaval transforms into a bear. It bellows and swipes at the men. Back away. Interior of the tower room night. Aurora frantically looks for a way to release the wings. She picks up a heavy chair. Interior of the great hall night. Stefan throws a heavy iron chain at Maleficent. It wraps around her neck. She drops to her knees as it burns her. Stefan pulls it tighter. She gasps. The men have thrown a rope around the bear's legs, hobbling him. Interior of the tower room night. Aurora throws the chair at the coffin. It hits the thick glass, but doesn't break it. Interior of the great hall night. Maleficent gasps out the words.
Now a dragon.
Diaval transforms into a dragon. It breathes fire at the men. They fend him off. They fend off the fire with their shields. Interior of the tower room night. Aurora hasn't given up. She tilts the coffin. It falls forward and crashes to the floor. The wings flap and struggle in the broken glass. Interior of the great hall night. Stefan pulls the chain around Maleficent's neck tighter. She gasps. One of the men throws a sword at the dragon. Maleficent can barely get the words out.
Now a butterfly.
Diaval transforms into a butterfly. The sword flies harmlessly past him as he flutters away. Interior of the tower room night. Aurora reaches out and softly touches Maleficent's wings. They stop struggling.
Why?
Interior of the great hall night. Stefan's men throw more heavy chains around Maleficent. One wraps around her legs, another around her waist. They pull them tightly. She crouches on the floor, chains across her body, tortured. Stefan stands over her. He lifts his sword high over his head, prepared to make the final blow. But a brisk wind suddenly whips up from nowhere. Something large and black slams into him, knocking him off his feet. Maleficent looks up. Her face fills with astonishment to see her long, lost wings flying toward her. Aurora runs into the room from the tower stairs. Overjoyed, Maleficent lifts her arms out to her wings. They flutter down toward her.
Be one again!
There's an earth-shattering crack. Maleficent is enveloped in a magical explosion of light and energy, and she rises up into the air on her wings. Aurora's face lights up. The pixies' faces fall. Stefan's men are just astonished.
Kill her. Kill her!
They attack her with swords and iron chains. Maleficent fights them from the air. Diaval fights at her side. Stefan motions to his men. They gradually back Maleficent toward the open door to the battlements. Exterior Stefan's castle, the battlements. Maleficent fights them. She knocks the last man away. There's only Stefan now. She corners him against the wall with her wings.
It would feel so good to kill you, but I'll let you live for Aurora's sake.
I won't let you take her.
I won't take her. She'll come of her own free will. And here's a little thing you don't know about her.
He whispers into his ear. He's shocked by the revelation. While she's close, he secretly brandishes his knife and tries to stab her. She backs away and lets herself fall backward off the battlement. Stefan throws himself on top of her. Exterior mid-air night. They fall into the cup of Maleficent's folded wings, grappling as she plummets toward the earth. She tries to throw him off, but he clings to her fiercely and tries to stab her with the knife. The ground rises rapidly up toward them. They struggle. He holds onto her, raising up the knife. The wind whistles past.
I never loved you.
Maleficent looks into his eyes as they fall.
You're a liar.
She flips over suddenly. Stefan loses his grip. His face fills with the terror, and he falls. Maleficent's wings open at the last moment where she hits the ground, and she swoops up into the sky. Interior the Great Hall dawn. Maleficent enters. Aurora runs into her arms. After a moment, Maleficent crouches to look into her eyes.
There's something I need to tell you.
Godmother, I already know.
On her back, two tiny gossamer wings glitter in the light. Cut to exterior the mound near dawn. The moorland fairies, winged and unwinged alike, have gathered upon the fairy mound. Maleficent steps onto the queen's stone with her guards around her. The stone screams in protest. She shouts,
As you see, I'm not the rightful queen, but the time has come for me to step down.
Maleficent steps down off the stone. It falls silent.
Fair people of the moors, I give you Queen Aurora.
As dawn breaks, the fairy queen Aurora floats down from above, her wings fluttering softly. She lands on the stone roars at the lion. The fairies cheer, musicians play, and the fairies dance. Aurora sees Prince Philip standing at the back of the crowd. She smiles. Maleficent stands with Diaval, the man. Her hand finds him as they both struggle with their emotions. Exterior the fairy path the next day. Pixie stopped hesitantly at the fairy path. Thistlewit puts her hand out tentatively.
Are you certain? Are you certain?
Yes, Queen Aurora has lifted the binding spell.
No, we're going home.
Flittle's butterflies fly ahead. Flittle hears something. She looks back. A carriage approaches in the road. The blue woman leans out and points at Flittle.
I'm coming for you!
Flittle gasps and runs after them. Cut to exterior of the farmland sometime later. The land on both sides of the fairy path is equally green and verdant. The farmer's son, now fully grown, and his collies herd the sheep. They approach the fairy path. The farmer's son throws down a glove. The sheep trample it in their hurry to gaze on the sweet moorland grass. Exterior the moors on the blackthorn tree, day. Maleficent and Diaval sit in the tree, crunching black nuts.
I wasn't a very good queen, was I?
You did what had to be done.
Actually, I was a bad queen.
Very bad. In fact, in my opinion, you are the mistress of all evil.
She gives him an evil smile.
Time to fly.
She waves her hand at him.
Now a bird.
He transforms into a raven. They lift their wings and take flight together. As Maleficent and the raven soar together, wing to wing, above the beautiful moors, we fade out.
Thank you very much. That was absolutely lovely. Everybody did a splendid job. Thank you for watching, and join us again next time.